Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven-roasted chicken, topped with cheese. Prepared, plated, and served? In 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Well, things continue to get better as we head into that extended forecast. And of course, we are tracking that in full detail on Mississippi Live Weather at 10. Welcome into the Room to Room Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor. And what I was mentioning in particular is power outages. Got a few more off that number today and hoping to continue to diminish that number heading into tomorrow. Been trying to provide you updates on our social media pages, but just excited that things are finally getting a little bit more normal heading into the midweek time frame. We're also, speaking of normalcy, tracking out where we're headed for our Mississippi Live Game of the Week. And where exactly we're headed to, we'll track that here in just a moment, but I hope you submitted your vote because we're excited to get this part of our week back in play, literally on Friday night. Freezing fog is possible tonight, not exactly as hazardous as it sounds. What it could do, though, is make some of those roadways slippery, but not for everybody. And we'll track that, where you can expect it, what locations can expect it by your Wednesday morning commute here in just a moment. But I don't want you to be too alarmed by freezing fog. It sounds very menacing, but it is preventable and something we can stay safe with getting into our Wednesday morning. Extreme cold does return by this weekend. We're tracking out that temperature forecast in much more detail here at 10 o'clock. So thank you for tuning in. And of course, we'll provide all those details in just a moment. Let's start with the first 12. And as you can see on our first 12 graphic, 26 degrees by 11, 23 there by 2 a.m. We're dropping to around 22 degrees. So not much difference from where we currently sit in North Mississippi. The thing with that forecast is moisture is in the air, prevents us from cooling off too much. And that's where we're getting that patchy fog developing early a.m. hours and even by our morning commute. Lingering there by mid-morning. And as we go about the rest of the day, you can see that that fog does burn up. We trend a lot better, and don't be fooled by those partly cloudy skies by 11. We're continuing to get better by the afternoon with sunshine back in the forecast, and that's a welcome sight on top of the above freezing temperatures because that's going to knock off a good chunk of that ice getting into our extended forecast. Okay, where we're headed to Friday night. I know this week has been madness, but I wanted to provide you this update here in the Room to Room Weather Center. And of course, we had several options, hoping that we're able to keep these in play. It was tough nailing it down because there are still some locations that are canceled through the week or not going to be playing on Friday night. And so we had to go through that and kind of filter out a few matchups that, may have been really good, but hopefully getting those in the future when weather permits. But here's our winner. Houston versus Shannon is our Mississippi Live Game of the Week, heading down to Southern Lee County, getting into Friday night, and it's going to be a great matchup between the Hilltoppers and, of course, Shannon going to be a great one for sure, and we'll have our Ethan Foster joining us, giving us those highlights on Friday night. So we're getting back to a little sense of normalcy, guys. We're not tracking winter weather, winter storms getting into this weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend ahead. There were a few other matchups. Smithville versus Hatley had the lead early, but unfortunately just couldn't hold on to it as Shannon and Houston fans definitely showed up and showed out. But nonetheless, there will be opportunities in the future. This is the girls matchup, so we're going to watch some of those girls basketball highlights on Friday night. And again, that's something very few stations do, if at all, especially here in North Mississippi, that will provide that exclusive Game of the Week coverage like we do here on Mississippi Live Weather. Temperatures tonight, they are cold, don't get me wrong. We're 29 Oxford, 26 Tunica, 28 Grenada, and 28 right around Starkville. But if we look at this change, might as well call it a summer vacation at this point, because we were in the single digits for some parts this morning. Heading into tomorrow morning, it is going to be trending much better. A double-digit difference in the positive direction, meaning a much warmer forecast ahead. If we keep that moving on to our surface analysis, of course, we're tracking this cold front that's right overhead. But this cold front not going to be having much movement with it. Once it moves into North Mississippi, pretty stagnant right over the top, and that's what's allowing that moisture to stick around as well. If this front were to carry all the way on through, it would carry this cloud cover and even those little bit of showers further south into the Gulf, but not exactly the case. So on our Mama Justice Doppler radar, that is the big headline heading into tonight, is just that frontal boundary wanting to linger in the forecast. and we have to deal with it, unfortunately. As you can see right here, 3 a.m. on our Wednesday, we're continuing to see that front loom right overhead. Give those showers down there towards Jackson and Meridian, but up in North Mississippi, it's going to dissipate out, but the effects of the front will still be in the forecast nonetheless. It's just not going to be as pronounced of a system as what it once was. But this is why that cloud cover is in place. It's because of that stationary front right overhead. Now, as we get towards mid-morning, you see how this just burns up right over the top of North Mississippi? That's going to be our forecast for the start of our Wednesday. And by mid to late morning, that fog burns up. And not only that, our temperatures warm up and make for a much better forecast by the afternoon. By noontime, seeing the effects of high pressure giving us that drier forecast. A northerly wind will allow some of that cool air to stick around. So not going to see things warm up, unfortunately, too much, but they will be better than where we were today. And today was better than where we were yesterday. So we're being optimistic at 10, and there's definitely some positive points we can take with this forecast. The next 24, going to be that foggy forecast to start. Pair the fog with 22 degrees. That's that freezing fog that we're talking about. But as we get towards mid to late morning, that does burn up and temperatures warm up. We're 29 by 9, 39 there by noon. And we're talking about a very extended period. I mean, we're talking 11 a.m. all the way up until 7 p.m. being above freezing. That should do some damage on that ice and hopefully make a lot of us in a much better state of mind. That's our prayer, at least, and that's what we expect, but we're tracking all of that in more detail. How many days will be above freezing before that next big cold spurt? We'll have all of that in full detail here in the Room to Room Weather Center, live from Mississippi Live Weather at 10 in the next 60.
Been injured, don't settle for a lawyer who doesn't even know where you live. Call Langston and Lott. Local lawyers, personal service, real results.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
You gotta love technology. Thank you for everyone in the chat letting me know that we were not live. I hope you guys still heard my voice, but I apologize for the extended Sweet Peppers ad. We love them over there at Eat With Us. But yeah, I know you guys wanted that forecast, so apologies there. That's on me, some technology things behind the scenes, but that should be fixed now. Everyone should be seeing this. So yes, appreciate everybody for keeping me updated. And for those asking, can you go over the forecast once more? We will do exactly that here in the next portion of our show. Apologies once again, but let's get back in business. 32 degrees right now in Macon, Noxubee County, showing off those cloudy skies that are overhead. Dew point still at 24 degrees, so that's a much drier pattern than what folks are dealing with up north. And what that means is fog not going to have as much potential getting into those early morning hours. And that's our primary concern heading overnight and into our Wednesday, is just where that fog develops and how cold those temperatures get. Greenwood, 30 degrees, and there you're seeing a much more saturated forecast with 28-degree dew points, and that's going to allow the potential for some of that freezing fog overhead. And freezing fog, of course, requires that moisture, but it requires temperatures to be under that freezing mark. And in some locations, Greenwood included, and especially out here in Oxford, unfortunately dealing with that as we get into that extended forecast. I mean, look at the roads over in Oxford along Highway 6 and Jackson Avenue. I mean, it's just not drying up or not clearing up. And unfortunately, we will continue to see those icy effects linger into our Wednesday, but hopefully taking out a big chunk of that forecast as we get into our Wednesday afternoon once temperatures warm up nicely. Now, our Mississippi Live Weather Radar, our Mama Justice Doppler radar, as we look at this right here, you see a lot of blue. And I know a lot of folks are looking at this thinking, oh my word, that's snow. No, this is what we call clear air mode, and that's still in the forecast as we get into our Tuesday evening. But we're not going to really see any flakes or anything like that because it is still pretty dry, not exactly getting any movement with any of those rain chances into the forecast. So this is still clear air mode. It's just showing up as blue because temperatures are below freezing. Our satellite imagery, though, that's the big forecast, because watch how things have changed from 6 o'clock all the way up until 10. You see how we were mostly clear throughout the evening hours? Well, now we're starting to get those cloudy skies move back into the forecast. And if we expand things out, you can see this mass of moisture moving into North Mississippi, and that's going to be the big driver in that potential fog for our Wednesday morning. As we track that out on our nighttime fog tracker, you can see how, watch up here towards Knoxville and Huntsville. You see how this line develops? That's the fog that we're looking for in order for, nighttime fog to take place. Getting it up there towards Nashville and Knoxville, but here in Tupelo, I'm not seeing anything that's remotely close to what they're getting in Tennessee, meaning that fog has not formed just yet. All of this is just going to be that cloud cover that's much more elevated into the sky. Getting a better look at that, of course, zooming into North Mississippi, you don't exactly get those indentations, meaning that there's more dense coverage. This is still just all aloft in the atmosphere. So as we get going with that forecast, of course, we're keeping with those calm conditions. Hopefully the fog stays out of the forecast. Definitely would not have a complaint about that. But as we get into those early morning hours, fortunately, all of this moisture keeps those temperatures at bay, and we're not cooling off too much more from where we're at right now. Low 20s expected in the forecast. And we talked about a moment ago that temperature difference from this time yesterday. It's about a 15 to 17 degree change in the positive direction. That's a much better outlook getting into our Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, and we're grateful that that continues to maintain into tomorrow morning, because there are still thousands without power tonight, and any degree could make all the difference. So we're glad that it's at least 15 to 20 degrees warmer from where things sat at this time yesterday. Futurecast on your Tuesday night showing you that this front moving right overhead, and that is going to allow that moisture to stick around as well. This is one of the things that we tracked here a moment ago in the Room to Room Weather Center, is this front will dissipate out, but the effects of the front are not going to be going anywhere. We still get that moisture that's in the forecast, not in the form of any rainfall, but in the form of that cloud cover and that fog. So there you see that front dissipate out. It's because it's not as pronounced, not as strong, but still, like I said, that stationary front, the effects of it going to remain in place. Bringing it back in here to North Mississippi, I want to focus on the areas that will see this fog and watch the difference. We're talking 6 a.m. on Wednesday. Oh man, well, I forgot low temperatures. Bear with me. We'll see it in just a moment. Low temperatures on Wednesday morning, 19 degrees Boonville, 18 in Corinth, 18 Holly Springs, 19 Water Valley, and 20 there towards Houston, 23 Golden Triangle, and 25 around Belzona. These temperatures, very cold forecast, but when you add that moisture to it, that's where you get that freezing fog potential. This part of the forecast is the freezing. Now let's get into the fog here in just a moment. As we look at that futurecast, watch from 6 to 9 o'clock how this just basically starts to dissipate on out. Well, that's not exactly cloud cover clearing on out. This is primarily going to be that fog that's moving on out of the area, burning on up due to that sunshine, and leaving us with that calmer forecast by 10 a.m. And that also leaves us with some clear conditions by noontime. So we're enjoying a much more beautiful forecast by the latter part of our Wednesday compared to the foggy start we'll have for the start of our Wednesday. So the main concerns with that freezing fog is that it could bring a thin layer of ice on pavement or on those roadways that may make for a slick commute, especially in locations that are already sitting with those icy conditions. So we want to make sure to drive safe, be monitoring those road conditions, and be tuning in to Mississippi Live Weather, 6:30, 7, and 7:30 with meteorologist Maggie McCauley. She'll be having the latest on those travel conditions and the latest on those temperatures and where they sit in North Mississippi. As we get into the afternoon time frame, those temperatures do warm up, and it's going to be a beautiful forecast to wrap up our Wednesday. And temperatures, not too bad either. I mean, we're talking the warmest temperatures we've seen in about 4 or 5 days. 45 Amory, 43 New Albany, 37 Senatobia, 43 down around Greenwood, and 48 towards Louisville. As we keep this forecast moving, of course, going to showcase those dry conditions lingering throughout our Wednesday and continuing into those overnight hours. What doesn't continue is those clear skies. As you can see, we do get some of this moisture moving right along the Mississippi River. Potential for some more of that fog to form there towards Clarksdale, Greenville, Senatobia, and Memphis. That's going to be by midnight on Thursday. And that cloud cover continues to just shift east and give us some pretty dense coverage by our Thursday morning. So not going to be those beautiful blue skies what we had on Wednesday. Unfortunately, we're going to get that dense cloud cover back into the forecast. As we look at those low temperatures, though, that moisture, again, keeps temperatures from being overly unbearable. I mean, teens are still cold. Low 20s are still cold. But if those clouds were not in the forecast, we'd still be talking about single digits. So we're grateful for this for sure on our Thursday morning. As we take a look at that, the rest of our futurecast will continue to be those cloudy conditions overhead, and that'll stick around for our Thursday into our Thursday mid-morning and continuing into our Thursday afternoon. One big note in the forecast on Thursday, though. What you have is this high pressure center wrapping around some of that moisture into North Mississippi, and that's going to, of course, give us that cloud cover and potential there for rainfall. But as we take a look at this forecast out west, you see how this low pressure center starts to form just a bit? What we were tracking at 5 and 6 was the potential for maybe some winter precipitation by Thursday night into Friday morning. This is that system we're talking about continuing to move into Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And as that continues to develop, it'll begin to reach a northeast movement and move some of that moisture into North Mississippi. I know it's not exactly labeled by 6 p.m., but there's that moisture that we were tracking. And by 10, 11 o'clock, moving into Arkansas and potentially overnight, giving us a few flurries into North Mississippi. That's going to be overnight Thursday into the start of your Friday. No impacts expected, but what we will get with that is a few flakes moving into the area. But I want folks that have been impacted by this past weekend's winter storm to not be alarmed. It's not going to be anything close to the impacts that we saw this past weekend, and this will just be more of the snowfall. So we're not going to see power outages like we've seen. We're not going to see road conditions be extremely hazardous like we have seen. We're hopeful that you guys understand that safety is what we're going to push to you, and that is going to be exactly what you have getting into this weekend. Do not be alarmed. We'll continue to clean up where we're left at from this past weekend and continue to get in the positive direction. High temperatures on your Thursday: 44 New Albany and Booneville, 47 Houston, 48 Amory, 49 Starkville, Columbus, and Vernon, Alabama, 51 Kosciuszko. When was the last time we saw 50s in the forecast? Things are definitely trending in the right direction, and we'll continue to enjoy those all throughout our Thursday. Now, as we take a look at that AM low temperature forecast, this continues to be the big headline because today was cold, well below average, and just bone-chilling temperatures. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we trend a little bit more mild, comparatively speaking. But then Saturday and Sunday, once that system moves on through, we'll drop those temperatures into the weekend and make it feel just as cold on the weekend as it did this morning in North Mississippi. I want to look at the chat here real quick and make sure I'm not missing anything. I appreciate everybody for sticking with me. I apologize for the beginning of the show and not being able to see me. I hope you guys have enjoyed the forecast and understand where we're headed to from here, and you're going to be safe on that morning commute. But yes, just making sure I'm not missing anything real quick. So Jacob asking, could this melting ice lead to flooding? We actually did have a few flood advisories be issued during this entire event. I looked at my rain gauge at the house, and it measured well over 3 inches. And so significant amounts of water were distributed across North Mississippi, and some of that just did freeze, like we're seeing right across the state line. So maybe some isolated areas of flooding are possible, but what we're seeing is this gradual melting day after day. It's not going to be below 30 one day and then rise to 70 degrees the next day, melting everything in sight. This has been a steady melt, which I think will help in the flooding concerns. And honestly, the main thing it does is give us a few hazards into those overnight hours because it melts during the afternoon and then refreezes overnight. And we'll see that tonight into Wednesday morning and potentially see that Wednesday night into Thursday morning as well, as these above freezing temperatures continue to do their damage. Friday, we will see the effects of that front drop those temperatures once again into the mid-30s. Saturday and Sunday, there's where the significant drop takes place, and our low temperatures get into the low teens, with Saturday afternoon's high temperatures only getting into the mid-20s. So it is a cold forecast ahead. So we can't escape that cold air. Luckily, this next weekend, it'll be cold, but luckily no chances of rain or snow or freezing rain attached to it. This is going to be a very dry pattern to pair along with these cold temperatures. So that winter storm this past weekend was a rare event, and one that was a high impact like that. We've not seen anything like that in quite some time. And so we're glad that that's in the past, but we know that the road to recovery is still in the future. And at least we have some good days ahead to where we can continue to address it. Linemen can get out there and continue to fix those power outages, and roadways can continue to be cleared. This is a time where cleanup and coming together as a community is very important. And it's been heartwarming to hear of all the stories about the communities coming together. But there is still a ways to go. But we are grateful for everyone who has been a part of this process and the cleanup journey. All of the linemen and women, all the EMA directors, all the first responders, just been absolutely phenomenal. And we are very grateful to live in, the greatest state in the United States. So as we wrap up this broadcast, I hope you guys do have a fantastic night. Drive cautiously for your morning commute And if you are out of school, get some good sleep ahead. If you are still without power, huddle together, stay warm. One more night for some of us, and our power will be on for, again, some of us getting into our Wednesday. That number continues to decline as we head through this week, and we cannot wait for the day when it reads 0. And trust me, that'll be a day I know all of North Mississippi will be celebrating, and hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. And with this forecast, I think that's a realistic possibility. You guys have a safe night, and of course, make sure to download that Mississippi Live weather app if you have not already done so. That's free and available on iOS and Android, and it keeps a lot of folks prepared. I mean, we were talking about this event this past weekend the Monday before. That's a 5-day lead time, and I don't know many locations that would have provided that, and we did that here at Mississippi Live Weather. So our goal is to keep you safe, keep you informed, and keep you prepared, and we'll continue to do that all throughout January, all throughout February, and heading into this spring. That's what we do here at Mississippi Live Weather. Our next broadcast is going to be at 6:37 and 7:30 with our meteorologist Maggie McCauley. She'll have the latest on that fog potential. She'll also have the latest on those temperatures and how they trend better by the afternoon. I know it's going to be a lot of good news that she'll be able to talk about in the future. So make sure to tune in, grab that cup of coffee, and be good to go. We'll be back here in the Room to Room Weather Center at 5, 6, and 10 on your Wednesday evening with Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. We'll be touching base around the area with local EMA directors, where things stand and how that cleanup effort continues. Tune in for the very latest on what to expect.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lopon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lopon has proven himself trustworthy.